Welcome to the Buy Box Experts podcast. We bring to light the unique opportunities brands face in today's e-commerce world.
This episode is brought to you by Buy Box Experts. Buy Box Experts takes ambitious brands and makes them unbeatable. They have a team of consultants, I am one of those, that will identify key low-hanging fruit for some of your best-selling ASINs on Amazon. So, if you are an Amazon seller and want to make more revenue, then go to buyboxexperts.com, click on the free analysis button. It's completely free, no strings attached. We'd love to talk with you. Today, I'm really excited for this. We have Chris Shipferling, and by all accounts, he is a marketing nerd like the rest of us. He has over 16 years of experience in sales and marketing, from working with brands like Combi and Evenflo to owning his own agency, Robert and Pearl, and now working as a managing partner at Global Wired Advisors. Chris is an expert in mergers and acquisitions, and his team of investment bankers and digital experts at Global Wired Advisors are looking to innovate the world of buying and selling businesses by getting involved at a granular level and seeking to understand the businesses he works with better than the business owners themselves. Chris is a husband, a proud father of two, and to me, he's a clear example of what community-minded business owners should seek to emulate. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on.
So I want to give you an opportunity to talk to the listeners a little bit about what Global Wired Advisors does, as most of our listener base are small business owners. So just kind of give them the 411.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for that. And again, thanks so much for having me here on the show. It's great to be able to get on and share with your listeners all the wonderful, juicy things about M&A and sell-side M&A. So Global Wired Advisors was started 2 years ago. It was really birthed from our sister firm, which is called Providium Advisors, which was founded 4 years ago by my three partners. So the first ever firm that was created was Providium Group, and that's our private equity effort. Providium Group is more of call it a middle market investment bank. And from there, they started Providium Advisors, which was focused on sell side mergers and acquisitions. What that means is that they were mainly focused on taking business owners to market versus, say, helping a large company find a business to buy. And so they also have and still have other investment banking products like They can do leverage buyouts. They can do management buyouts, Series A, so cap raises, larger cap raises, et cetera. And they're also very focused on what we would be considered more traditional businesses, manufacturing companies, franchises, a chain of brick and mortar, call it retail stores, et cetera. But in the process of them, when they founded this firm, and in the process of growing the firm, their business development team became very much aware that there's a big paradigm shift that's already occurred and continues to occur into digital. Specifically, Amazon becoming something that 5-6 years ago wasn't necessarily on the map to sell a business like that, and now it's very much on the map to be able to sell an Amazon-based business. And obviously, digitally native companies or digital brands, content-driven, affiliate-driven type of digital brand. So as that became more prominent, 2 years ago, Global Wired Advisors was created. Now, both firms believe that just because your revenue puts you on Main Street is usually businesses that are under $1 million. But more specifically, where we like to play is the lower middle market, which are businesses that are really from about a few million all the way up to, call it 50 to 75 million. We believe that just because you live in this space as a business owner means that you should settle for mediocrity, which we discovered very quickly in this space. And the mediocrity that we discovered was really just in the type of intermediaries that currently exist that are taking these businesses to market. Our backgrounds are from investment banking. My background's a little bit different, as you already notated. My three partners all came from household investment banks, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, worked for various hedge funds, et cetera. And so, we're coming with very large, well over 20 years each of institutional investment banking. We understand capital markets. And now what we're really trying to do with Global Wired is bridge that gap of the new up and coming digital brands that are growing and exploding, as you know very, very well at Buy Box Experts, and really doing some good matchmaking with smart and sophisticated capital. Which is something that they've never even looked at before. And we're trying to make them aware that this whole industry not only is thriving, but it's growing leaps and bounds. And it's absolutely something that sophisticated and smart capital should look at.
So has the money that has been going to this lower and middle part of the market been dumb money, right? You're talking about this smart, sophisticated money. What kind of deals are going on for all these small businesses?
Yeah, good contrast, but no, there's still smart money. It's just, lots of deals that have fired off in the lower middle market have been more or less with, either personal capital, which still, we also find buyers that are, maybe 2 or 3 friends or investors that have pooled some capital together, whether it's personal capital or, they'll exercise what's called an SBA loan. So that's all of that still exists and has existed. It's just, for the most part, in the lower middle market, Main Street, private equity firms who are looking for transactions, they're looking for deals because they've got LPs that are investing lots of cash into the private equity, and they're looking for deals that are going to give them incredible return on investment. And what you found in, call it, the middle market, and even in the enterprise or institutional, there's not as many deals to satisfy the LPs, but there's lots of capital that's out there. And so in order for these private equity groups to find good deals, to bring lots of return to their LPs, they've had to come downstream. And as they've come downstream, they realize that, wow, there's a whole growing industry here, and it's digital, and it's very interesting. So that's what I mean by kind of making the folks who haven't come downstream yet, making them aware of what's here. And that's really where we believe that we do a great job. But it's already starting to occur where they're waking up and going, okay, there's something going on here.
Okay. Now, walk me through this story, right? So you guys all have this investment bank experience. You've been wheeling and dealing tens of millions of dollars on each of these transactions that you're doing. You sat down with these partners that you have, and you guys where was it serendipity? Where'd the business model come from? Because it seems to me that typically private equity firms and these large dealer brokers, they don't give a crap about the lower end of the market.
No, they don't. So yeah, it was not necessarily serendipitous. It may have been a little bit more happenstance, but it was definitely very intentional. So, when my and I'll give you one story of our 3 partners, but my one partner, Jason, when he left big capital markets and he went and came to I would call it the light side, becoming an entrepreneur. When it was time for him to go sell his business, he went and engaged with a business broker. And, he owned a business that was, several $1 million. And so, again, a middle market investment bank is not going to take someone like that to market. It's way too little. So he went out and engaged with a business broker. Now, what he discovered in his interviewing process for these business brokers is that the skill set and the acumen, the business or the capital markets acumen, was quite weak. And so from there, it was, hey, I think this is something that we can probably just do a lot better. And that's really where Providium Advisors was started. And then really from that same idea, where we started seeing lots and lots of companies that were growing and ready to go to market, that were more digitally focused or digitally minded or Amazon based. That's where Global Wired Advisors started. Now I came into the picture because I was actually introduced to Jason and my other partner, Joe, through just a mutual friend here in town. And when we first sat down together, we had coffee, and we realized pretty quickly that this could be a pretty cool partnership together. So yeah.
So I mean, lower into the market, right? These deals aren't hundreds of millions of dollars. Like I think a lot of these guys they're trying to swing for the fences, right? They're trying to hit the balls all the way to the parking lot. And so is it a strain on your resources to be dealing with all these small guys, right? Like you have to do more deals, or are the multiples just insane so it makes sense when you're dealing with these lower guys?
Yeah, I mean, the way that we set up our firm, we're a partnership firm, so it's the four of us and the support staff. We have several support staff that sits underneath of us. We have made this process extremely efficient, but we do have, our firm in particular, we have a threshold. We will not really engage with a client unless their revenue is looking like it's about 1.5 to 2 million at the lowest revenue, because usually at that point, then their enterprise value is probably going to be at least somewhere north of $1 million. And so that's where it starts to make sense for us within the efficiencies that we've also created here in our firm. But yeah, as far as the multiples with Amazon businesses, and we can dive into that now, and I can kind of get very high level, but we're trying to push the envelope as much as we can. Unfortunately, with Amazon and Amazon-based businesses, you're selling in a marketplace. Even though you're private label, you're still renting. You're renting an Airbnb from Jeff Bezos, and in the process, you're making Bezos very, very, very rich and fat. But you're still renting. So, we always, of course, will encourage people to have a more diverse portfolio, which is something I'm sure you also encourage, because the more digital marketing that they're doing, it actually helps brands that you're helping on Amazon have a much stronger halo effect. Because if someone may have saw, their widget or product through a Facebook ad, they're more than likely still going to go to Amazon and purchase, just because Amazon brings so much trust to the consumer. But we do encourage that, brands will try and create some type of diversity when it comes to their revenue concentration, because that will actually brings the multiple up. And being only on Amazon, you're still going to hit a great multiple. It's just, you have more risk downside when you're only concentrated on Amazon.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. So Amazon sellers, right? Should they even consider talking to you until they're making $1 million?
No, not necessarily. We can. Here's the good news. We're very what's the word I'm looking for? We like to focus on being a really good advisor, or a really good consultant, or a really good coach. And what I mean by that is, we'll talk to somebody with their 12, 18, maybe even about 24 months out, and we will absolutely sit with them to walk them through, one, kind of here's the checklist you should be really thinking through. Here are the things you should be thinking about once, if you're really starting to think about going to market, even though we always say, and you've heard this probably 100 times, start with the end in mind. Everybody talks about that. Mm-hmm. But it really is true. It rings very, very true, because if you set up your business to sell, you're actually setting up your business with incredible efficiencies. You're streamlining it, you're cleaning it up, you're making it look real pretty. And at the end of the day, if you don't sell it, it's more than likely what's happened is you've renovated the cash flow model, and you're probably at this point now extrapolating lots of good cash flow from your business because you cleaned it up effectively. So if you're talking to somebody, or your listeners are listening to this program right now, and they're going, yeah, I'm not even anywhere close to $1 million, by all means, just reach out to us. We're happy to have a conversation almost anywhere in the process. So
interesting. Now, you've talked in the past about companies needing to have a really solid product roadmap, right? Not getting stuck on just like one or two products in their suite. I had Greg Mercer, the CEO of Jungle Scout, on the podcast, and his strategy, his philosophy for selecting products was, he uses his tool. He looks at market opportunity.
Jungle Scout's great, by the way.
Yeah, he just picks random stuff. We were talking about bamboo marshmallow sticks in the same breath that we were talking about, like blankets for babies. And those were two products that he launched pretty close together, and they had no brand similarities. They weren't clustered in any way. They weren't similar at all. And so you evaluate the whole business, right?
Yeah.
Talk about diversity. would you encourage this more sporadic approach, just looking at market opportunities when launching products, or would you encourage brands to stick to a niche, just pick it and stick with it?
Yes, niche. And the reason why, and Greg's comments around choosing different categories and different products, I think that's a great strategy. And a lot of guys choose that route. They feel a little bit more like an Amazon-based Dollar General, right? Like an Amazon-based Walmart, effectively,
Sure.
Just like a general merchant. They're just kind of selling anything that they can. And when you're taking that approach, you're taking more of an approach just to say, I need to put as much product as I can that's profitable so I can cash flow lots of dollars. Now, is that a sellable business? Of course it's a sellable business. We could probably find, if it's cash flowing really well, there's a lot of, call it risk averse details to each of the products. There's some level of protection. It's private label. Maybe you can do some product extensions with the baby blankets. Maybe you could do some more product extensions when it comes to the bamboo marshmallow sticks. You can still extrapolate lots of, call it a value map and even maybe a product roadmap with that. But unfortunately, when you're presenting a company, when you're presenting a business to what we would call generation 2 capital, right? The guy who's going to take the torch, you want to just make it very, I don't want to use the word simplistic, but you really don't want to confuse somebody by having to say, yeah, man, I got 400 SKUs. No, thank you. Right. And so you just got to keep in mind, if you're trying to build a business to sell, there are a lot of other people who are also potentially trying to sell their business. And so when you're going out there and you created something that's unique, it's easy to understand. It's a brand or has lots and lots of elements to continue to create a brand out of this company. You're just going to be a much more attractive business when going to market. But I don't disagree. I mean, I know lots and lots of guys just from my past and even just within this business who, yeah, man, they started with garlic presses and then they started selling video cameras and then they started selling. I mean, it was just anything that they could find on Alibaba.
Right. Yeah. And but who's buying these businesses, right? Like, I got 400 SKUs that have essentially no brand clusters. I mean,
that's the problem is, honestly, and the reason why I can't even answer that question is we haven't taken a company like that to market. We actually have one company that we took to market. And it was actually a reseller, and we tend to shy away from resellers for lots of reasons. But this one in particular was just very, very intriguing. Mm-hmm. The system that he put in place to find really good product to sell through 16 different channels, by the way, 16 across the world. It was a very streamlined process, and it was some of the heaviest cash flow we've ever seen in a resale business. So again, do you kind of see what I'm doing there? I got some nuggets to talk about, right?
Right. Yeah.
400 SKUs. It's kind of like, okay, wow, that's a lot of work. Now, if you tell me you've got 100 SKUs, I only work 3 hours a week, and I'm cash flowing millions of dollars a year, I'm either going to say, that's great, that's a sellable business, or I might just say to you, hey, man, keep running your business and take the cash flow.
Yeah, don't sell it.
I don't think you need to sell this thing. So
the circumstances in which somebody would sell a business like that would be some critical life event, right? Like someone passes away or divorce or something crazy happens.
Yeah, that's right. And those tend to drive decision making when it comes to, death, divorce, partner disagreements. We've seen that a lot. Being in business with somebody is very difficult.
That makes sense. But you would say just sit on the cash, man. Just like keep it riding. Ain't no reason to sell.
If you really don't have something crazy unique like a brand, where a brand that could be flipped to a strategic, and you might be able to come along for the ride for the second exit, you're probably not going to get you're not going to get an incredible multiple for a business that's just, you don't really have an identity to the company. So the multiple is probably not going to be that amazing. So at that point, yeah, it's like, Get your surfboard out, man. Ride that cash flow wave as long as you can, and do what Greg Mercer said. Hey, go to Jungle Scout and just keep picking off products that you believe are going to be the next winners, and just keep doing it. Create a system. Keep doing it.
Give it to your kids when it's all said and done.
Well, look, I mean, it's in some ways different, but in some ways like retail arbitrage, right? I mean, that's a big thing in the Amazonian world right now, which is went to Costco. I bought a whole flipping box full of an aisle stopper box full of whatever, right? And I just put it on Amazon, and I was able to flip it and make 20% net margin just by flipping that. And it's just over and over and over again. It's almost kind of the same thing where it's like, I mean, no retail arbitrage business will ever sell. Nobody will ever buy a retail arbitrage company, period. So it's kind of the same spirit in some ways. It's like, hey man, ride the cash flow.
So to the arbitrage people who are listening, what do you say to them? Start doing a brand?
Kudos. You're doing a great job. And I wish I had time to do it. I love reading the retail arbitrage stories, man. I love it. It just I think it's just so cool that they're able to it's like, honestly, it reminds me of treasure hunting, right? It's like, I found something. I used to do this in college. In college, we had a place called Rugged Warehouse right near our dorm. And I used to buy these. It was when paper, denim, and cloth. Remember? Do you remember paper, denim, and cloth jeans at all?
Not at all.
Okay, yeah, they're like worth nothing now. When they first came out, they were worth like $200 jeans. And like, jeez. I remember at Rugged Warehouse, I found like 10 of them on a rack for like $30 or $40. It's a treasure. It's like going to TJ Maxx or Marshalls, man. It's a treasure hunt. So I took them and I sold them on eBay. And hey, I made some good cash for being a college kid. So it's kind of the same deal, man. So yeah, retail arbitrage. If you want to get serious about building a business to sell, yeah, go start a brand, create something that you've got a nice moat, watch the thing grow, use Buy Box Experts to watch.
Thanks, man. Hey, shameless plug. I appreciate that. Hands off the steering wheel.
That's right. Watch it grow. And then once it becomes a really strong brand, yes, you probably have a chance at that point of going to market.
So thank you for that. That's and hopefully for the people listening, right? Like this has the wheels in their mind thinking, right? Like, how do I diversify my company? Now, I have this conversation with brands all the time where they're on Amazon, they're doing pretty well, but like competition's starting to get pretty steep. Their ad buying costs are going way up. Their ACoS is skyrocketing. They don't really know how to adjust. And so I'll suggest to them, hey, have you ever considered running some Instagram or Facebook ads straight to Amazon?
Yeah.
And you would think that I just like insulted their mother because they're like, no, I'm not going to take away those sales from my website. But even you mentioned, right, like the likelihood of an Amazon Prime member buying on somebody's website is pretty low. Because they're an Amazon Prime member, they're going to go check it out. Is there any, in terms of Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising, have you found a best practice for how to allocate those dollars and which channel they should go to?
Great question. I would say that if you're running up against lots of saturation on Amazon, I think, there's other plays that you can do. Which would be more Amazon, I would say, centric, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously lots and lots. What's nice about Amazon, as you well know, so I'm preaching to the choir for a moment, the advertising continues to evolve on Amazon. So they're allowing you to do a lot of new things to not have to be so, I would say, linear in the approach, right? So that's kind of number one, where you can probably try and get away from some saturation. But if you're still running up a brick wall and, to your point, it's just like, I'm trying everything here. Yeah, I would say, there have been, and now Amazon's actually starting to give you attribution data around Facebook and Instagram, which is really cool. It's the first time they're doing this. Now, I've talked to some other people and they're saying that, hey, it's definitely still in beta, because they've run some tests and they're like, yeah, this is what my Facebook analytics say and what my Amazon analytics say.
You heard it here first. Chris is challenging Jeff Bezos and his team. You got it wrong, guys.
Yeah, sorry, dudes. Keep trying. So anyways, yeah, I would obviously, I mean, look, if Amazon continues to be a very strategic platform for your company, there's also ways to do it. You could also, give someone the option, right? I mean, you can let someone know on your website that you also sell on Amazon and give them the option to buy directly from you. I mean, I will say this, and, this is just kind of, I'd say a generalized statement, so just bear with me, but your business has more value if you can create really good revenue concentration. And the one downside of Amazon is you don't own the data. And that can be an issue when it comes to, I'm speaking only from an M&A perspective, but when it comes to a potential acquirer buying your company and you don't have the data of those people that have purchased from you, it can become a risk downside in someone either giving you a better multiple, like we talked about earlier, or maybe even just passing over your brand because they're like, hey, I know you're selling on Amazon, you're killing it, but I'm really looking for some better LTV over here because I know I can own that customer data and I can have them forever.
Define that for the listeners, LTV.
Lifetime value. So for instance, on Amazon, you can get LTV, but it's really tough to control the LTV, right? Sure. So now I know that Amazon has opened up retargeting, which is awesome, but it's really expensive.
Yeah, and display ads, all those things. I mean, even sponsored brands are still way expensive, and that seems to be a trend.
But when I own the data from my website, it's a simple email, and it's $70 per month for your MailChimp.
Don't these buyers get it though? Right? Like if I have an Amazon, I'm making $2 million a month. They know that they can't look at that data. Are they still turned off though?
No, not necessarily. It's just if you've got a business, if you're going to put apples to apples, and you have a business that's only on Amazon, and you have a business that might have some revenue diversity, sure, and the concentration may be, they got some level of data about the consumer because they've got some percentage of sales through their website, quote unquote. And I can't even say it for wholesale because unfortunately you don't have much data there whenever you're selling wholesale to, either a Target or a Walmart or et cetera. When you're putting two and two together, you're just going to have a potential acquirer. You're going to be able to get them to pay more for the data than not for the data. And then you also have a risk. You don't have a risk downside at that point, or it starts to mitigate because you are controlling your sales through your own website, or at least a portion versus just a marketplace.
It's all about risk. They see less data means more risk for them.
That's right. And I mean, and a lot of it just goes back to the fact that you're selling on a marketplace that does not allow you to have data. That's it.
And even that data that they provide is
yeah, exactly. It's, and they're making it even more difficult now. I'm sure some of your listeners have received the emails. They may have used, what's the feedback frenzy?
Feedback Whiz, Feedback 5, Feedback G.
Yeah, exactly. They may have used some of those programs and now they're getting emails saying, hey, stop it.
Yeah, I was talking to Liz at Ecom Engine, who runs Feedback 5. Yeah. And it's stressful, right? And what we're talking about for those who don't know, go to your recent orders, and on your FBA orders, I think maybe even on your FBM orders as well, there's a button that appeared that just says request a review. And that's as of this recording. It's in beta. I had a conversation with James Thompson about it as well. And right now it's manual, but systems like that are, who knows what's going to happen. No one has a crystal ball.
That's right. So they're just making it more and more difficult for you to own any of that stuff.
Right.
And they're trying to control the conversation more and more and more. But yeah, the question was, we were talking about what do I recommend in terms of our activity? Yes, I'd recommend it. I mean, look, when it comes to digital marketing, test. Sure. Test. You should always be testing different activities and different things to try and create revenue.
Yeah, and challenge your own personal status quo, right? The way that your business acts. Like, yes. If you've been doing something the same way for 2 years, oh my goodness, a lot has happened in 2 years. You got to change something, right? And
I know. I mean, we have TikTok now, man. That's what.
Are you on TikTok?
No, I only follow the funny TikTok stuff on Instagram. I can't go there yet. I won't go. I don't do Snapchat. I barely do Instagram, and I've got a fake Twitter account, so that way I can go troll some people.
Oh, sure. It's real. Okay. One question I have for you, we should have knocked this out at the beginning. Do you sell on Amazon? Do you have your own products?
I do. I actually sell myself on Amazon. Yeah, it's I'm going through a little bit of a repositioning of the brand itself. But yeah, I've been selling my own brand on Amazon for a couple of years now. So
right on. So this is you're not just all talking fluff. You know the game. You've gotten the emails.
What's the guy that used to come on television talking about hair loss? He said, was it Hair Club for Men? Mm-hmm. Not only am I the president, but I'm also the client.
Big old fool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty entrenched still in the Amazonian world, and
good.
I still have some friends of mine who own businesses who will turn to me for some help when it comes to Amazon stuff. I used to do Robert and Pearl. Part of what Robert and Pearl did was some more enterprise Amazon consulting, mm-hmm. and a lot of helping businesses move away from vendor and on to seller.
Sure.
Central, because who knows what's going to happen there.
Man, I was at Expo West when they dropped that on everybody that, hey, we're not going to order your products anymore.
Oh.
God, you would have thought that I was the devil incarnate walking up to these people's booths, right? They were like, I hate Amazon. Like, Jeff Bezos can go die. I was like, whoa. Dial it back.
Number one, let's settle down a little bit.
Yeah, that was the whole conversation.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who owns it's a decent business, decent small business, very prominent through Vendor Central, and lost 3 weeks of orders, and then week number 4, they sent over an order. They sent over an order for $1.8 million. And he's like, I don't have this inventory, right? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what's going on? So, yeah. Anyways, that was that's what I used to help doing that a lot, and I'm still very much I keep up with Amazon.
Good.
I still read up on all the new stuff that's going on. So,
and for you, right? You are this. I don't know if you're like a scuba diver, right? Like you dive deep into these companies and you try to know it better than they do to find all the treasure and to also find all the bones that are buried in different places.
We call that the hair on the deal.
The hair on the deal?
Yeah.
You don't want hair on your deal. You
don't want any hair on your deal. That's what we say internally, man. You want to, but you always find it. And for us too, we do lots of due diligence up front. And so, before we take any business to market, we're going to make sure that the business is ready for market. There have been times where we discovered something and we had to tell the business owner, sorry, you're not ready for market, but if you can do X, Y, and Z, you will be ready for market.
So you guys go through here and you have like an anti-hair rule that you put on these companies. What's the most common like record keeping issue or data issue or just like common issue that you find?
Yeah, making sure the books, I mean, you hear this a lot in the space, but it's just because small business owners, and when it comes to books and small business owners and organization around finances, just tends to be lacking. And so a lot of times you will find that it's the books. A business owner might have 5 different businesses, right? Everybody listening is an entrepreneur, and they might have 4 or 5 things going on at the same time. And they might be big things. I mean, we've run into that before too, where they've got one large business and a couple small businesses, but everything was run through one QuickBooks file. And this was,
you can split that on QuickBooks, can't you? You can have separate,
you can if you want to organize your business.
And you would suggest that?
Oh, highly. I highly recommend finding a great bookkeeper, someone that's consistent. I've got lots of resources that I can send you after this, so you can send to people. People who are, we've worked with a guy that is affiliated with Seller Labs. He's the seller accountant. His name is Tyler Jeffcoat. He's been great because he understands Amazon businesses and he understands Amazon accounting really well, which can be very confusing. Especially the way that Amazon does their disbursements, the way that Amazon gives you transaction reports. Some of that stuff can just be very confusing. And especially to someone who doesn't understand finance at all, it can be extremely confusing.
So for somebody who's probably thinking like, holy crap, my books look atrocious, there's plenty of ways to turn it around.
Of
How quickly do you think somebody can fix it?
Just depends. Sometimes it can be in a matter of a couple days, and sometimes, and I think Tyler would agree with me. There are other times that it can take a few weeks and lots and lots of hours and lots of work, but it's worth it. I mean, especially when it comes to larger businesses, because larger businesses are going to go in front of, call it bigger capital players or bigger strategics. And if you don't have a good quality of earnings, is what we call it in our space, then they're just not going to believe your numbers. So
now,
you got to have them believe your numbers for sure.
Would you hire an accountant if you were these guys, right? Because the same, the same logic and intellect that created the problems likely can't solve them. So should you outsource that as a business owner if they're a mess?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm recommending. I would recommend that anyways. I mean, unless you're a CPA, unless you have a CPA background and you're selling on Amazon, which is rare, then you can do it yourself. But I recommend that if you don't have a finance background or finance degree,
don't mess with it.
Just don't mess with it.
Don't trust yourself.
You're making plenty of money, or you might. Hopefully, you're making plenty of money. Where a lot of these outsource. Like for instance, Tyler, from Seller Accountant, it's not like he's charging a full-time CPA salary. It's still very affordable.
Quick cleanup.
Yeah, but he's got different levels of services too, depending on how big you are. Some guys just truly need a fractional CFO, someone who can help them when it comes to inventory planning, when it comes to operational planning, when it comes to operational, what we call OpEx, right? Or CapEx. Like trying to really figure out when they can try and scale their business. A lot of guys, some larger folks will need this, and outsource guys like Tyler will have different services depending on where you're at.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Well, so these business owners they're all listening and they're wondering, are my books a mess? Right? What percentage of the time do you have to send somebody away and say, hey, you gotta clean your stuff up before you're ready to do this?
It's interesting. I mean, a lot of the guys that are coming to us and they're real serious about wanting to sell their business, they usually have an understanding that they can't have an intellectual conversation with guys like us unless we're reading their books. So they get it. Now, I'd say percentage of folks that we speak to and the books are just completely disastrous. It's not a big number because again, usually when they're coming to us, they understand that that's part of the it's part of the cadence of selling your company, right? Like it's kind of first step. I need to make sure that my P&Ls and my balance sheet are all very much in proper order. So we don't run into it a ton. We do run into, again, we'll run into a business that might have, they might have books that look okay or decent.
Sure.
But they're a larger business and the type of capital partners we would put them in front of, they're going to need something from a CPA, like a firm that has stamped, we have audited this business. We have looked at it.
It's good to go. Yeah.
It's good to go. So that way, when we're putting it in front of private equity, they're not going, licking their fingers trying to go through all types of paperwork. It's right. Here's a stamped audit. So
you have a big emphasis on first impressions and how that's important. So there's a lot that goes into the prep work. You just mentioned the first thing, right? Cleaning up your books. That's the first duck to get in a row.
Yeah.
What's the last duck to get in a row in your mind?
Man, the last duck. Wow. There's so many, I would say, that kind of don't fit within a sequence. They all kind of fit in together. I would say another big one is you already mentioned it, but product roadmap is very meaningful. I mean, kind of know where your product is going, because if you're going out to market and you're just presenting a garlic press that's been there for 4 years, that's just kind of still running steady and you have no plan to do anything else, they don't want to buy that. They want to, they're not buying the rear view mirror, they're buying the windshield. So you got to make sure that the windshield looks really good, right? You got to know where the company's going. And a lot of business owners, a lot of small business owners, they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants, unfortunately. But if you want to build a company to sell, you really need to make it that, first off, organize your business in a manner that's organized in every function. And one of those functions is obviously product development. It's very important. That's the lifeblood of your company. Anybody who's listening on this podcast, it's the lifeblood of your company.
Yeah. Innovate or die.
Yeah, exactly. So being able to create and then articulate a very believable product roadmap is very important, because that's, again, when you're talking to someone who wants to buy something, you're able to present to them, this is how you're going to take over and grow the company. That's all they care about. So that should be part of your narrative.
Okay, Chris, thank you so much. We're coming to the end of our time here. How do people get in touch with you?
So go to our website. You can go to www.globalwiredadvisors.com. You can find us on, you can also go to Google and just type in Global Wired Advisors. We come up number one, even for 5% of your listeners that are still using Bing and Yahoo. We still also come up number one for Global Wired Advisors on both of those platforms too. So yeah, and then of course, I don't know, you probably have in the show notes, I'm assuming, probably my email address. It's pretty easy. It's just cs@globalwiredadvisors.com. And yeah, you can get in touch with us that way. We have a contact form. We have a great valuation tool. So for any of your listeners kind of wanting to know what's the value of my business, we have a great valuation tool that's got lots and lots of data on the back end that they can input all of their information, and it will spit out a valuation range to them. Now,
that's incredible.
My large caveat to that is a lot of people will fumble through it and they don't know that they put in the wrong numbers or whatever. So I always say that your valuation can go either way up or sometimes way down. It's always important to take that valuation. And if you're really serious about wanting to sell your business, set up a consultation with us.
Bring it to you. Yeah, that sounds prudent. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for listening to the BuyBox Experts podcast. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web, and we'll see you next time.